Bob Ward joins us now from London. He's the Policy and Communications Director of Grantham Research Institute on climate change. Bob, it's great to have you on the program. Appreciate your time. Now, last year, with this increase in greenhouse emissions, it makes you just think, how did this happen when most of the world was in lockdown for several months?
Well, the important thing is that to remember is carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere for many centuries once you put it there. And even though our emissions went down last year, we were still pumping carbon dioxide there. And so concentrations continued to go up. In fact, concentrations will continue to go up until the whole world effectively gets to zero emissions of carbon dioxide. And at the moment, the earliest date that that might happen is 2050. Several countries have committed to net zero emissions nationally by 2050, but we need the whole world to get there before concentrations stop rising and therefore temperatures stop rising as well.
So many countries have made these commitments towards 2050. A lot of commitments being made, but are we seeing actual action towards these commitments? Because it really doesn't feel like time's on our side right now.
Well, more than 3/4 of the world's emissions are now covered by countries that have made 2050 or 2060 net zero commitments. But the problem is that their emissions target for 2030 are not consistent with that path. The 2030, if you add them all up, the 2030 pledges are really consistent with a pathway that would mean temperatures would rise by perhaps 2.7 Celsius degrees by the end of the century, which would be far too high and would have disastrous consequences. The Paris Agreement was about well below 2 degrees and trying to work towards 1.5. We need every country to be on a credible path to net zero emissions by 2050 if we're going to keep the 1.5 degree target within reach.
And of course, many countries are meeting this Sunday in Glasgow in Scotland at COP26. What do you expect to happen there with regards to these pledges? Do you expect countries to get tougher and set better goals for themselves and for the world?
Well, most countries have already put on the table their pledges and they're still not sufficient. So one of the key challenges for Glasgow is to work out a mechanism through which countries can rapidly increase their ambition. The Paris Agreement, which commits countries to that well below 2 degrees target, states that countries should come back every 5 years with renewed pledges. I hope they will agree in Glasgow that they should be coming back far sooner, perhaps every year, to come back and talk about more ambitious pledges so that we eventually and very quickly get on a path that is consistent with that target of limiting global warming to no more to well below 2 Celsius degrees.
And hopefully that is something that we will see. Bob Ward, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much.